Hello, everybody who's coming in. This is going to be a really interesting session. We have former Congressman Adolphus Ed Towns from my neck of the woods, Brooklyn, New York. Uh, and I met him before he went to Congress, man.
Right.
But he served 30 years in the House of Representatives, social worker, graduated with his MSW from what was that school you went to, man?
Delphi University. Oh, don't forget that.
At Delphi University.
Garden City,
Okay.
Long Island.
And then before that, you went to North Carolina A&T, right?
State University, yes.
Yeah, North Carolina. So, but he was the congressman from New York for uh, 15 terms, and toward the end of his career, he chaired a very powerful committee, the Oversight and Government Reform Committee. But he's going to tell you how he got to Congress, and he's going to give you some idea of what you need to be thinking about. Even if it seems a far-fetched idea for you, that you ain't thinking about going to Congress now, it could be somewhere in the future, or maybe you never thought about going to Congress. Mr. Towns is going to let you know that is not Mars, that you can get there without a spaceship. Take it away, Mr. Towns.
Thank you very much. Let me thank you, Dr. Lewis, for that very kind introduction. And of course, recognizing those great institutions that I had the opportunity to visit for a short period of time and to ascertain a few degrees out of there. And of course, I want to thank you for the kind words. And also, I want to thank Dr. Judith Crocker Billingsley, who I always talk about, who always full of encouragement. Sometimes you talk to people and they don't encourage you, but Judy always finds a way. Dr. Crocker Billingsley always finds a way to encourage people, and I want to thank her right now for the words of encouragement that she's been able to give not only me but so many down through the years. Different things across this nation. So I want to thank her for that. I also want to thank you for the invitation to come and to talk about some of the things that I encountered along the way, and some of the people that I met and who made a tremendous difference in my life. I ran for Congress, but before I ran for Congress, I was in an area that was mixed, and racism is always something that pops up all the time in terms of people, talk about, oh, that's a black district, or that's a white district, that's a Hispanic district, and that always, I found that to be very troubling. But the point is that you have to also deal with reality when you face it. So what I did was, as a district leader, they said that that I could not win in the district because there were too many whites, and I was having trouble understanding that. So what I did was I went to an Italian woman who lived in the district and met with her and said, look, I would like to team up with you. The word is that I cannot win, because there's not enough black people in the district. And I said, and of course, I'm sure you've been told that you probably can't. And I says, why don't we sit down and work some things out and talk about what we can do to improve the quality of life for people in this particular district. You and I are working together. I talk to you, your views and philosophy is basically the same as mine, and why can't we just come together? And she said, let me think about it. The next day she called me and said, let's have lunch. She said, the idea that you put forth makes a tremendous amount of sense. So why don't we do this? So we did. I ran, and we ran, she ran, and I got elected, she got elected. We were partners for like 16 years, as we continued to build a bigger and stronger coalition. And in the process of this, building a stronger coalition, we met Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm. Shirley Chisholm had just not too long before after that, she ran for Congress in 1968 and was elected, the first black woman ever to serve in the United States House of Representatives. So now my district was in her congressional district. So in 1970, I met with her and said, I want to be involved. And so she talked to me about my involvement, about doing some papers and talk about, suggesting some of the things I could be involved in and we could all work together on. And of course, I got really, fired up about it and looking what we can do to improve the quality of life. Then in 1972, Shirley Chisholm told me, I'm gonna run for president of the United States. And we all looked at each other. Well, now, Shirley, you made history as the first Black woman to serve in the Congress. And now, after being there for all just a few years, now you want to run for president of the United States? And, she said, yes, why not? I have the qualifications, and why can't I run? And we all looked at each other and said, then we said to her, well, what about the resources? And she started talking biblical talk to us. The Bible said that, we started really looking at each other. And she said, if you work hard enough, you'd be amazed as to what happens. And she just carried on and carried on. And so we said, well, Shirley, we on board. Whatever, let's move forward. And so, of course, she ran in the Democratic primary, didn't win, but a statement was made. And that statement was made that you can do more than you realize that you can do, because she was organizing across the country. And as a result of her organizing, Blacks start running for office. Blacks start getting elected to office that who had never been elected before, but because of Shirley Chisholm's motivation and Shirley Chisholm coming in and campaigning in the area, getting people excited, then they start running. And then, of course, we all got all fired up and says, hey, we can run for some things too. And so we start running for different positions. And back in those days, and the different areas, of course, have its own structure in terms of some areas where you can run for the school board. In some areas, you have county commissioners. In some areas, you have city council. Some areas, you have borough prep, the different things. But the main thing is find something that you feel that you can run for and that can impact and improve the quality of life for people. And once you do that, you'll be amazed at how one step can lead to something else. Also, the fact that people will discover you as you begin to make noise and to say things and to do things. People will begin to come to you and ask questions, or either to say to you, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? I mean, they will sort of look and see that you have something going and that you need support to be able to make it happen. And they want to be a part of that, making it happen. So that was the thing that sort of got me motivated. So then after becoming the district leader for an area and working, and then I was asked to become the first Black deputy borough president in the history of Brooklyn. Brooklyn has 2.6 million people, and I had the number 2 position in the borough of Brooklyn. And this was history-making moment. Well, the history-making moment came out of my being the district leader and providing services in that little area called East New York and Brownsville that led to me being discovered to be able to now become the deputy borough president of the history of Brooklyn. And first one in the history of Brooklyn. But see, the point is that I was discovered because of my involvement. Some people think that they just can sit back and because they have the academic training and all of that, that somebody's just gonna come and tap them on the shoulder and say, look, we want you to provide leadership. No, it doesn't work that way. And I would like to say to you, without any reservations, hesitations, no more observation, that social workers are more qualified to be involved in the political arena than anybody else. When you look at our background, you look at our training, look in terms of what we go through and what we, in terms of also the fact that there's nobody that I can see as I've measured, as I've gone along, that has more qualifications to be involved in electoral politics than a person that has a degree in social work. And I've said this over and over again and been involved in debates and issues to talk about it. And I tell you right now, I'm prepared to discuss this matter with anyone. When you look at our background, because you want to be people oriented. If you're a social worker, you want to make certain that you understand people. You want to be committed to solving the problems of people. And all these things. If a social worker has a problem, it's this, that sometimes we wait too long to get involved. We want to be involved in the solution of a problem. No, we need to be involved in the preventing of problems. And I say this because we lay back, sit back, and then when something happens, then we say, all right, let's fix this. No. Let's get involved and prevent that from happening. And therefore, we don't have to deal with it on the back end because we're dealing with it on the front end. And nobody is better to do that than social workers. Think about it when you look at the training. And then as you move along, you find that this is a situation but the other thing is that we need to be clear in our answers and clear in our phrases. I use this sometimes. I was doing the commencement. I think it was at Grambling University. I think it was, and I use this. I was saying that we have to make certain that when you phrase your questions properly. Social workers can do that. They can phrase the question, and in order to be able to get the right answer, And I'll give an example. Sometimes, and Judith heard me say this, and maybe even Charles, that this old man was sitting on a bench. And of course, he was, just sitting out there, and not too far from the old man was a dog. And I mean, the old man sitting out there, and the dog's out there, and these two little boys are playing. And so finally, the little boys come over to the old man sitting on the bench, not doing anything, not bothering anybody. He says, will your dog bite? And of course, the man said, no, my dog will not bite. And of course, the little boy patted the dog on the head, and the dog took a big hunk of meat out of the boy's hand. And he yelled, oh man, I thought you said your dog wouldn't bite. He said, oh, that's not my dog. My dog is home. And, so what I'm saying to you is this. When you ask questions, make certain that your question is clear. Because when the answer comes back, you don't want it to be devastating. You want it to be something that will help you to be able to elevate you and be able to move you forward, not to further destroy you. I mean, and so social workers have the ability to be about clarity. I mean, your education and your training talks to you about how you do ask questions, how you deal with things. What about human behavior? All these things you deal with when you're dealing in the political arena. This is what it's all about. Don't get this mindset that many social workers have, that you have to be on the outside, and then so you can throw rocks on the inside. No. Social workers need to have the philosophy that they're going to be inside and throw the rocks outside. In other words, those that are not doing what they're supposed to do politically, throw them out. You take over. You do what's right. You do the right things and improve the quality of life for people. I just don't want social workers laying back anymore, talking about what they're doing and they're not. No. You get in the arena and you make certain that things are done in a certain way. And that is the thing that we need to do. And I tell you, as I move around this nation, I encourage social workers to run for office. Run for office. You are qualified. You are better qualified than anybody else. I've had the opportunity to serve with many. And I want you to know that when you check the record of the social workers that have served in the United States Congress, not all other positions, I mean, just check Congress, and you'll find out that the social workers in the United States House of Representatives, I want you to know they've been at the top. I mean, no question about it. You evaluate them up and down. When you talk about Karen Bass from California, when you talk about Ron Dellums from California, when you talk about all these different social workers, you talk about Barbara Lee, who serves in the United States House of Representatives. And, and you talk about all those folks who have really, really been there and have made a difference. They are social workers. I mean, think about it. So don't you lay back and wait for somebody to tell you you get out there, you start doing, because the need is there and you are qualified to be able to address the need. And I want you to know that, and I say to social workers everywhere, if a social worker is going to run for office and they contact me, if I can help them, I'm going to help them, no question about it. And I say to them this: if endorsing them helps them, or I endorse them. If endorsing the opponent helps them, I'll endorse the opponent. As long as I'm helping my social worker, because I know that social workers really, really can make a difference. And I think that the problem has been that we've laid back too long, waiting for somebody else to do it. and to talk about what they're not doing rather than getting involved and doing ourselves. Now, I know that Dr. Lewis said that I was supposed to talk for a certain amount of time and then open for questions. Well, you know, I'm going to stop in a few minutes and then entertain some questions. But I want you to know that I've done like graduations from many universities throughout this nation. And every one that I've gone to, I've talked about, and I don't care what school, I've always included the social workers need to be involved in policy making, and that they were really actually I talk about it in the fact, letting them know that you're qualified. You're qualified to do it. And every graduation, somewhere or another, I find a way to stick that in. You know, and I hope it's been appropriate, because I would constantly mention it, regardless of the school. I talk about involvement makes the difference, and I say it all the time. And involvement, you know, is something that we need to be about, because that is our training. That's our background. When it comes to helping people, that's us. That's us. That's what we do. When it comes to improving the quality of life, oh, that's what we're supposed to do. When it comes to giving advice to people about how they might be able to do things a little better in a different kind of way, that's social workers. That's what we're supposed to do. So I want you to know that I'm encouraging social workers to step out and begin to run for office. Run. Find something that, you know, that you can make, and then have to be Congress. You know, that can be something you do later. But you can run for school board, you can run for city council, you can run for all kinds of things that you can run for at the local level. You know, my involvement started in undergraduate school. I was involved, of course, in government relations. I mean, in the school, and being involved in that way, because at that time there was no real examples for me to look and to be able to see a lot of folks, that's Black folks like me, that served in the Congress. We just didn't have them back then, you know. And of course, now we do, and thank God we do. And I'm hoping that you encourage them and begin to work with them, and also look in terms of what you might be able to do to enhance not only the careers of those folks, but enhance your career and also the lives of people. So I'm going to stop for a moment, and just to give you the opportunity to ask a few questions. Okay. But ask questions, because I'll jump right back in here now. You better get if you don't have the questions.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes.
I have a question in regards to being a direct practice social worker. I really like being a therapist, and that's truly my calling. But I'm currently an intern on the House Veteran Affairs Committee, and it's inspired me that I'd like to run for office. But with my mental health background, I really know kind of the others. So what do you really recommend for direct practice social workers that want to run for office?
Direct practice? Yeah, I think that regardless of your area, you know, I think that the training itself makes it possible, because if you're in direct practice, I mean, and you decide to run for office, I think that the experience that you're getting in direct practice will also enhance your chances of winning an election, because you're dealing with people, you have that experience, you know, in terms about human behavior, you know, in terms of the fact that when people are hurting and they're not explaining or saying that they're hurting, but you looking and you seeing it. I mean, all these things I think gives you an advantage over a lot of other folks that will attempt to try and run, because of your experience and your background with to do. In direct practice, I mean, I think that is very, very, very helpful. And as also in the process, you make a lot of friends when you practice. You're helping people. Once you help a person, then they tell their family about how you assisted them. And then their family tell their friends about how you were able to help them. And all of this, you know, good news, you know, begins to get out into the community, which can make a difference in terms of people's views and people's feelings about you, you know. And so I think direct practice is very, very helpful in terms of getting out there, because you can build a base. I mean, just by helping people. You're not saying I'm running for office or I want you to do this, vote. No, no. It's just I want to help you. And then because you've assisted me, and now you're thinking about doing something different, oh, I think you'd be great at it, because in the direct practice, you've demonstrated your commitment to people. You've helped my cousin, you helped my uncle, you helped my aunt, you helped my brother. And so therefore, you got that base. Then you form that coalition. You call them together and say, this is what I plan to do. Yeah, and you'd be amazed at the response, because you are good at what you do.
Okay, thank you for answering the question.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Hi, Mr. Towns. I live in a very, very red state, Louisiana. And I'd like to get involved in government, politics, policy, but I don't know how to get started with that in Louisiana, where their politics don't necessarily align with my views.
Well, yeah, what you do in a case like that, at some point, you know, you might want to look at the school board, or you might want to, you know, at some point, and even if you don't have children, you say, I'm going to involve myself in the PTA, you know, and PTAs need folks with or without children. I mean, because you're talking about improving the educational system in a community. Generally, people can rally around education to a degree. Even the most conservative folks can generally want their kids to be educated. You know, I mean, and that's something that you can probably find that they'll rally around. So you look at whatever you think that will help you to get their attention, and to also have them to focus on you and your ideas. Of course, it's not easy when you're in a situation like that. But the point is that if you happen to show up at the PTA meeting and you say, oh, and you have any children? No, but I'm just concerned about education. And they would look at you in a strange and different kind of way and begin to focus on you. This lady's coming and she has no children, but she's concerned about whether they can read or not. You know, that's interesting, isn't it? And they begin to talk and talk and talk and talk. And next thing you know, that you've convinced some folks that, you know, would not be convinced easily, but based on what you're doing and what you're saying, that they can relate to education. They might not relate to some of the other things that you talking about want to do, but the point is, you're trying to pull them in to be supportive of what you, and then as you move along, then you can begin to say things. I must admit that I could say things my third and fourth term in the Congress that I would never have said in my first term, you know, because I mean, I would not, I mean, they probably would have thrown me out anyway, but the point is that, but after they were able to understand and saw into what I was about, where I was coming from, then they said, oh, no, we can support, you know, and then I brought them along. And then finally, you know, I reached a point where I felt very comfortable in challenging and moving them in a different direction, because they believed in me because of certain other things that I'd done along the way. So what he's saying must not be too bad. And that's what I would suggest. Education is something, you know, that, you can talk about, you know, building more libraries, increasing the focus on some phase of education, you know, be it, you know, you need more library space, need more, and everybody, the most conservative person is still generally about education. There's certain things about, you know, you can generally reach, so you have to reach and find them, and it's in every neighborhood. You know, in some neighborhoods it could be about farming, it could be about whatever, but the point is that you look at what it is that you believe in, and that they will not be intimidated by that, and that way you pull them in. and of course, use your skills, your social work skills, and once you get them in, then you start forming those coalitions. In coalitions, you have to understand, you don't always have to think alike, look alike, talk alike, walk alike to form a coalition. I mean, you don't. I mean, some people make that mistake. Thinking in order to form a coalition, everybody have to look alike, everybody have to talk alike, everybody have to walk alike. Everybody, no. Form a coalition around a common interest of some sort, and the rest of the stuff, leave it alone until you're in a position to really deal with it. And then when you do all that, then run for office.
Alrighty then. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. And I say that because, people say black district, white district, this kind of district. I came to Congress with a district that was 38% black at the time when I came to Congress. I mean, it's about what you do, and and of course, I must admit I was assisted by the first black woman to serve in the Congress, Shirley Chisholm, of course. But the point was that one would say, "Oh, you can't win in a district that's 38." But J.C. Watt, my friend for many, many years, came to Congress in a district I think was 12%, 11 or 12% black. So the point was that he was able to put together. In Oklahoma didn't have a great history of being a liberal state either, but he came, black person got elected because to Congress. I mean, and it can be done. It can be done, and you got to train in the background to make it happen.
All right, Congressman Towns, how you doing?
Fine.
My name is Carlton Bailiff III. I had a question because I've been looking at some of the salaries for Congress people and other elected officials.
Right.
I'm looking to get involved in state and local politics one of these days. What second jobs do you recommend if I can't make $50K from my elected position or more? What are some macro level social work jobs that you would recommend me get involved with on the side in addition to that elected official position?
Well, there's a lot of things. Number one, you can go in business, as you just talked about. You see, maybe you might even want to have an insurance business. Maybe you might want to have a real estate business. To make certain that it's subsidized in terms of your income. You got to someone running that for you. Of course, you benefit from it as well economically, because I must admit that politically you're not going to be paid a lot of money. I was just talking to a young lady who's running for office. Said she's running for Congress because she owed $500,000 for education loans and $500,000 for education loan. I told her, no, don't run for Congress. Run to get a night job. You're making a mistake. Don't come from that. But the point I'm saying to you is that there's a lot of things that you can establish. You can have a private clinic. That you divorce yourself from it, but have a team running it, that it's yours, you're part of it, and benefit from that economically. Because the main thing you want to do is make certain that what you're doing is truly above board politically. You don't want to get involved in any shady-daty. You really want to know. You don't want to do that. You want to make certain that, and it's easy. You can set up with your educational background and training. There's a lot of things you can set up that would be able to provide income for you. I was in business too. And meantime, as I was involved in politics. And the guy who was in business with me also was a NBA referee. A guy by the name of Hugh Evans was my partner in business. I was in politics and he was in basketball officiating. And we had the business and we had somebody operating it, and we kept going, and that way we were able to have that as also, and at the same time be able to be involved in the community to be able to provide service. but you can structure things. You know, you can I mean, you can have a lot of different kinds of business that can be set up, and that provides a tremendous need to people. And that's what you want to think about. What can I do to provide service to people? And I mean, in a clean cut way, just stop and think about it, put together, 2 or 3 of your friends and say, look, let us do this. Incorporate whatever it is and then do it. And at the same time, be involved in the community, provide service, and then run for office, And I strongly suggest that involvement. I must admit, I enjoyed it. I was able to help a lot of people, along the way. But my training in the field of social work truly made the difference.
Okay. Thank you, Congressman. I appreciate it.
Yes, yes. And also, let me just say something else. You can teach on the side. You can also do that. Like many places have Saturday programs. You can teach on Saturday. You can teach, middle schools have night programs you can teach, 1 week, one night, 2 nights a week. But at the same time, you can use that in your organizing process. Because if you're teaching and you're meeting people, greeting people, along the way, and they see your commitment and dedication to improving the quality of life, they say, well, I don't mind getting involved in helping this person. And that's the way all of us got involved with Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm. I mean, that's the way, she was about something, she was truly about education. In fact, she was an educator. And we all gravitated towards her. And as a result, many of us ended up running for office later on. And of course, I ended up running, for the seat that she held.
Congressman Towns, this is Dr. J. Again, thank you for having this great discussion. Many students, whether they are undergraduate students or MSW students, are interested in doing their internships. Okay, and I remember being at a meeting with you when you said that you wanted the internships to begin from the social policy class at the BSW level. Share with the students as well as faculty members the importance of congressional internships that may lead to running for office.
Right. Well, yeah, you're right. That's a good point. Let me say, first of all, a congressional internship, aside from you being able to see and be a part of the decision-making process, that you also have an opportunity to make contacts. And contacts are very, very important too as you move along in life. So, and you sort of there getting that, being exposed to different things and seeing it go and what's going on. And it helps you to be able to further evaluate where you want to go and where you want to spend a lot of your time for the rest of your life. That to me is extremely important. And when you have an internship, take advantage of it. I mean, be a part of it. I mean, get in there, learn as much as you can about that particular job, and because that also can help you decide as to where you want to go or what you want to do. And of course, if you get a chance to do an internship, and I would say, seek it, look for it, call the elected folks and say, look, I would like to intern for you this summer, or I'd like to intern with you on Saturday. I would like to intern with you on whatever it is. I want to do a week in your office. Can I do that? And generally, they will be receptive to it, and if they tell you no, then you call somebody else. And then, and I'm sure the more no's you get out the way, the closer you'll get into a yes. So, and that's what I would suggest. If you're in the political arena, try to get involved in somebody's political office, and the views might not always be like yours. And I've had that, he disagrees with me on this thing. 107 million things. Person disagrees with one thing, and you can't win that office. You can't be in that office. You know, office like that, I go in hoping that maybe I might be able to bring them around to my way. You know, I don't know, but you if you don't go in, you know, you won't ever know. And let's face it, there's some districts that the views might not be all yours, the majority of the people in there. But that does not mean you should not be involved in that district. You know, I mean, that's where you live. That's where you are. And doesn't mean that you can't a contribution in a positive way. I must admit, I've changed views on things. I have along the way, put coming from folks telling me, no, this. And I look at, and I send me was written and stuff, and that had my views. I've also had my views change in debates, you know, along the way. I've had my views change. You know, so the point I'm saying is that if a person doesn't always agree with what you think and how you feel, that doesn't mean that you can't talk or work with that person. And that's the point. And social work skills should make it possible for you to do so. I mean, social work skills also helps you to be able to understand that another person can have a different viewpoint based on his background, based on where he's coming from, based on his culture, based on a lot of other things that might lead him to feel a certain way, you know, at that particular time, you know. But the point is that that didn't mean that person can't change. So if you get a chance to do an intern, please take advantage of it if you can. Now, I know that sometimes internships, you know, won't pay you, they won't do this, they won't do that, but, you know, make the sacrifice if you can and get in there and learn as much as you can. And out of that, sometimes can come a job. A lot of things can come out of that internship. Trust me. Yes. Yes, you know. But the other thing too that I didn't talk about in terms of Congress, you know, I've had the opportunity to go almost everywhere based on my involvement in the United States House of Representatives. I was on the Select Committee on Narcotics. And the Select Committee on Narcotics, you know, we used to almost every week go to a country, which provided me an opportunity to go. I mean, you name the country, basically, I must admit, if it's a very productive kind of country or a country that had problems of a specific kind, that through my years of being in the Congress, I may have an opportunity to visit based on my being involved with the Select Committee on Narcotics, which was headed by a guy by the name of Charles B. Rangel. Charles B. Rangel is from Harlem, and he was a chairperson of that committee. And of course, I got on that committee from the first day I was in the United States House of Representatives. And I want you to know that it provided me the opportunity to go to all kinds of places to deal with this whole issue of drugs and trying to stop it from coming in to the United States of America. And also to talk to people about how they might be able to deal with their drug problem. Because the Select Committee, you know, that was basically the function. And then to come back and visit the various facilities that were involved in terms of providing help, providing prevention and also treatment. So I was able to do that. And of course, as a result of being a member of that Select Committee and being in the United States House of Representatives, made it possible for me to be able to do those things, which, you know, believe me, that was very, very helpful to me in terms of shaping my mind about what's going on in the area of narcotics and drugs. I mean, that was, you know, something that was very helpful to me in terms of my decision-making process back in my own community as to what I thought that might make a difference in terms of making certain that people would sort of stay away from drugs, those that are involved would have an opportunity to clean themselves up and to be able to live a productive life. So there's a lot of things that can happen when you're involved in political office, but the main thing is your commitment and dedication, and that is crucial to let people know that you're serious about what you do, and that and once they see that, a lot of people will join you even if they don't totally agree with you.
Okay, Congressman Towns, we have another question. And this is coming from the young man that you met at Johnson C. Smith, who is the captain of the football team at Exploring Professional Opportunities for Men in Social Work. He wants to know, what was the biggest risk or what was the biggest challenge you faced when running for office? And that's coming from Mr. Ivory Atkinson from Johnson C. Smith University.
The biggest one was resources. I almost talked myself out of being successful. When I was told what I had to raise to be able to be successful in the race, I said, that's it. Let somebody else do this, because I know when I can make, I don't have that money, not realizing that they were not even talking to me, because people will help you with the money once you get out there, able to raise more money than they said I needed, because of the fact that once they got involved in it and people saw, but I would say to you, my biggest thing was money. But the point was that money almost stopped me from making the decision, to get involved in politics, because I didn't have any. But people, they raised the money, they supported me, and of course I was well funded throughout my career as an elected official. I didn't have a real problem with it, because they would raise the money for me as I would run for re-election, on various occasions. And of course I served in electoral politics, I guess now when you look back over it, for like maybe 44 years. Mm-hmm. So that's key. But don't let that stop you, because the resources are out there. And all you have to do is put together the team to help you bring in the resources to be able to do what needs to be done. Don't think you need to be rich to run. If that's the case, believe me, I'd still be waiting to run. I would, so the point is that, but if you get out there and you start talking to people, people start looking at you and what you're saying and what you plan to do, and be able to keep your word. That's important. Of course, in any phase of social work, that's important. Your word is, your bond. If you say something, do something. If you say you're going to do it, do it. And that credibility in social work is very important. And I'm sure you've been told that in terms of ethics and all that. I'm sure you've gotten all of that, because that's something we talk about a lot in the field of social work.
Okay.
But involvement, get involved. Really, just don't lay back, and talk about you got a degree and doing nothing with it. Don't do that. Just hang on the wall, pointing to people. Look at my this, and look at my that. I got the MSW. Yeah, well, act like it. If you got an MSW, behave like it. Do something. Get out there and make a difference. I'm trained. Well, act like you trained. Don't sit back and just point at your degrees. Because you on the wall, when you just come in and you look at them on the wall and you do nothing. Don't let your training go to waste. Use it, utilize it. And people need help. People are suffering, and you have the skills, the know-how, and hoping that based on your skills and your know-how, that you will be able to use that to improve quality of life. That's the thing that you need to think about every day, that you've been blessed to be able to get the degrees, be it bachelor's or MSW, D, whatever you have, use it to assist people.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, Mr. Towns. I have a question.
Sure.
My question is, I am a second year social work and public health dual degree student at Howard University. And my question is for future generations of those who want to work in policy, is there any streamlining between the Congressional Black Caucus and HBCUs so that we can strengthen that partnership and policy, not just with social workers, but a lot of individuals may not be interested in just one area of policy. Like my interest is in health policy and public policy, and they intersect a lot. But are there opportunities to create that, create that teamwork where students can learn? Because we know that specifically within certain populations, we have different needs and different population needs that need to be addressed.
Right. Yeah. Actually, the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation has now begun to look very seriously, at this and see what happens is that now the numbers that they have provide an opportunity to do a lot of different things. When I went to Congress, the 18 Black members of the United States House of Representatives. And let me tell you one other thing that, there was only one female, a woman by the name of Judith Collins from Chicago, who I must say brought about Title IX. Thank God for her, because she was really, which made it possible for females to be involved in athletics and all that, and not to be ignored as they were back in the days. If you were female, when it came for sports and athletics, you weren't even considered, period. And thanks to Judith Collins that she was able to get. But the point is that the Congressional Black Caucus now, with almost 60 members, are beginning to reach out. I'm hoping that that process of reaching out, that they would be in a position to deal with policy based on some of the terms of what they're dealing with, on the Hill, that they would be able to pull students in. And being from Howard University, that you're right there. And I think that a call to the director of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation and say to her or him what you just said to me. And I really think that you'll be helping them to strengthen that program, because sometimes, I remember I talked about it some years ago. I did the graduation commencement programs over Howard a couple of times, and I remember talking about it on one occasion. I don't know how important it was to strengthen the relationship between Howard University and the Congressional Black Caucus. And the reason I stress that so much is that you can take a bus, you can take Uber, you can take, and almost time you can walk, over to the Hill and be involved in things. And then, of course, I think that the students need to reach out to the Congressional Black Caucus, and the Congressional Black Caucus need to reach out to the students. And I think that should be a good, strong base to show in terms of what can be done in reference to working together in terms of social work students, be it involved in policy and being on the Hill, influencing and spending time. And of course, I think I said to not this president, but the president before, that a Saturday program should be developed at Howard University, where members of the United States House of Representatives can come through there every Saturday to talk about what's going on the Hill and what students might be able to do to be able to assist in what is happening. And if you do it right there in DC, and members are right there in DC, every Saturday you could get somebody to come and talk to the students. I think the students would be interested in it. And I think that the students would be able to benefit from it by making contact, by being able to, and at the same time, you can bring corporate America in, with the elected person and talk about it and get corporate America more in tune with what's happening because sometimes I really think those CEOs do not have an idea of what's happening in the streets of DC. I really think that if they did, some of the things they're doing and some of the things they're saying, they just would not do it or they would not say it. I mean, and I think that based on Sister Esther, in terms of your comments, that if we could do that, pull the elected Black members of the United States House of Representatives and members, period, really, members, period, and then have with students being able to get that kind of relationship going, I tell you, I think equality of life in so many ways would be improved and would be better, and you'd be leaders that I'm certain that many of you would probably end up in leadership positions, on the Hill or around the Hill, wherever, because of your being so close to the power of government. I mean, you're right there. I mean, internships for Howard University students should be, I mean, that should just go without saying. I mean,
it should. I don't know if it's happened yet, but it should.
No, it should. And the members should reach out to you. I mean, they really should, they should reach out. And as I said, 2 times I did a commencement over here, I talked about it. And of course, some people got picked up on it and stuff like that. I mean, I know we did. I had I think 4 or 5 Howard students in my office, and I'll be honest with you, I think for a long period of time, everyone got a job except maybe one, I mean, and maybe one, maybe 2. I don't remember exact number, but all of them ended up with jobs on the Hill, not in my office, but somewhere, that they made their contacts and my staff helped them make contacts. And of course, if you have 60 members on the Hill with 4 or 5 members of Howard University students, I mean, my goodness, I mean, you can imagine in terms of the impact of that. And it could be easily done.
Well, you got the wheels turning now. Now I gotta go strategize and talk to my cohort and talk to people and the dean and everybody and figure out how we can strategize.
Yes, definitely.
But thank you. That is helpful.
Yes, delighted.
Okay, Congressman Town, I'm reading a question that came from Krishan Green. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. That person wants to know, what are your thoughts on term limits? Should there be a limit to serving in politics?
I think there's a limit. I really do. Every 2 years, a member of Congress has to run. Every 2 years. That to me is term limits. If he or she is not doing what you think they should do, organize and get them out. I mean, I think that's in itself is term limits. I know here in our own city, city council members, you can only serve for 2 terms. It's 2 4-year terms. But, I never really supported that, because if a person is not doing what they're supposed to do, then you organize, get them out, and let them know that, we don't want your service because it's no good, and let somebody else or run somebody against them, So that's my view of term limits. I think that as long as, you have 2 years, 4 years, then when the time is up, run somebody against that person and get them out, rather than just sort of sitting back and saying they need to go. No, you need to help them to go. So I'm not for term limits. I'm really not, in terms of the sense of you serve and then you got to go. I think that you make them go.
Okay. Hi, Congressman. Yes. So I asked the question. The only reason why I asked is because you have senators like Mitch McConnell, who's just been sitting for years upon years upon years, and even though he may have had faced opposition in the primary and things like that, he's created a sense of status quo, and he's hard to remove. Even if you rally and do whatever, he's really been really hard to remove from office. And so what I'm finding and what I'm noticing is we do have a lot of older people sitting in Congress who have some of those older ideologies that does not suit today's America. And so a lot of the up and coming or emerging professionals who are looking to get into those seats, they find themselves in a place of being stuck.
Right. I agree with you into what you're saying, but you know what I think it is in most of these cases? We talk ourselves out of being successful. You know, we keep saying that that this person cannot be removed, and then we stop and ask ourselves the question: did we try? You know, did 150 students, did 100 students from across the nation go into Kentucky to say that he has to go? Did we go into Kentucky to register young people and say he has to go? No, what we said was we stood back and said he's bad and he should go. Somebody should, but the point is that did we do any work toward it? And you're right. Some of these folks need to go. And some of them, of course, we feel that we can't force them to go. That's what we think, you know what I mean? But the point is that we'd be amazed if we go into an area and start letting people know that this guy is no good for you, young. And register folks, and if you don't get him this time, you'll probably get him the next time. If efforts are put forth to get him, that's the point I'm talking about. Do we have anybody that's saying, I'm going to West Virginia, I'm going to tomorrow, Kentucky, I'm going to Alabama. No, we just say that person is no good, and which is true, he's no good. But the point is that what are we doing to eliminate no good? We just basically accept the fact that no good is no good. But you'd be amazed at once you get to talking and dealing with folks, how you can influence people to look and see, because sometimes people don't think about it. And, they just, okay, he's there. I'm going to vote. His name is on the ballot. I'm going to vote. And not thinking about all the negative things that this man has done, that this man has said, and the kind of things he's denied us from having. So I just think that sometimes we need to just focus more on organizing, than criticizing. That's because I agree with you. It's not easy. When they're in the entrenched and they've done so many things wrong for so long that we think that, they're doing wrong is what they're supposed to do, and that's what, and we accept it. I'm just saying that no, we have to get together. Let me say one other example. We had a guy here in New York was chair of the Judiciary Committee. He was Manny Seller. And I never forget this as long as I live. And a lady by the name of Elizabeth Holtzman came into us. We a young group, had a little club and stuff. We just ran the district leader, put together a coalition and won the district leader. And she came and said, I'm running for Congress. Almost half of the people in the room thought it was a joke. She's running against Manny Seller, who's chair of the Judiciary Committee. Look at her. She just got out of law school and talking about she gonna run. And of course, all of a sudden, like a week before the election, people start saying, this thing is close. It's close. Well, to make a long story short, she defeated Manny Seller. And nobody, people just didn't, and everybody was talking about it. I'll give you one closer than that. We had a gentleman who was like one of the leading stars in the United States House of Representatives from New York. And I tell you, and AOC was the one who ran against him. And nobody thought he had all the resources, he had all the, everything you could think that a politician needed. And of course, strong support, here in the Congress and all that. AOC, who was underfunded, defeated him. And of course, so what I'm saying is that sometimes we give up, when we should tighten up. So and I hear you, and I know situations like what you just described. I know them, and you're right. But sometimes we talk ourselves out of being successful. Why?
I think part of my concern is because a person has been in that position so long, the opportunity of the dark money, as they call it, or the black market, the how they're in the pockets of the big spenders, Like we can rally and we can come together and we can organize, but can the possibility of defeating that type of permanent statue, because that's how I see it at this point.
Right.
It's kind of hard, to wrap my head around.
Yeah.
How do we get through that? How do we get through the dark money to get to the victory on the other end?
Right. Okay. I hear you. You're saying that he's been wrong so long. We think that wrong is just going to be there with him. You're right, and I know, and I've been there and felt that way, on many occasions. But the point, I think, is that if we all got together, say for instance, if the student body from different schools says, okay, we're not going to allow this to continue. We're all going to the state, and we're going to talk to the people in this state. We know the money, we're going to all talk about dirty money. We're going to point out things about that. We're going to do everything we can. And I think we'd be amazed at how many we'd be able to eliminate. It's not easy. You're right. And believe me, they have all kinds of resources. People fund them. We got folks that owe them, and they want to make certain they stay where they are, and they keep doing wrong stuff. And we just complain about the wrong stuff. But how many times do we go into that state? Okay, enough's enough. We're gonna take this one on this time. And next year we'll go to this one. But this one this time. And I think we'd be amazed at how many these folks we can get out of office. Because I have seen it. I really have seen it. And but it is not easy. And you're right on that point. I mean, it is tough because they have resources, they have a lot of money, and they keep doing wrong. And the people who love wrong support them. But the people that feel that they should go talk about they need to go, but they don't get involved in terms of helping in terms of the funding process, because we talk ourselves out of being successful. And I think that's the key. I do believe that if enough forces were to come together, that they could take him out of office. That means the senators that are there come in, they work against him. Don't just talk. The senators, what senators go into the state campaign against him? No, they don't. They don't come in there. But I'm saying, because, they just say, okay, I'm not going to bother. But the point is, suppose they all went in there, every Democratic senator went in there and said, we're going to make certain that this man does not come back to Washington, D.C. Because what he's doing is not in the best interest of our nation, And I tell you, Sister Green, I think that we'd be amazed. But let me tell you, what you're suggesting, what you're saying is not an easy task, because these are folks that a lot of folks owe them. They've done a lot of wrong things along the way, done a lot of bad legislation that helped people to put money in their pocket, as a result of the legislation. And people will come and rally around them and make certain they're protected. But I just think that if enough folks say enough's enough, we'd be amazed in terms of what we might be able to do. But anyway, it is not easy. You're right. Money, I must admit, is hard to overcome. It's hard to overcome an election. And I'm not going to sit there and tell you otherwise. But thought and campaigning, just talking the issue, you also do it. Yeah. So don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Let us continue to work to get the bad ones out.
Yes. Thank you, Congressman.
You're welcome.
All right, Congressman Towns, it is, what time is it? 5 after 5. I want to say thank you. I am one of your special students.
Yeah.
Thank you for all the work that you did with me during my doctoral attainment as being one of my professors and mentors at Clark Atlanta University. But it looks like we have to go to the closing ceremony, everybody. This was an awesome event. And Congressman Towns, I want to say thank you for the time that you've taken. I'm sure you'll be officially thanked. And as you know, our own Kenneth is one of your congressional interns this year. And organizer. So I will see you on the 31st at other events.
Thank you very much. And let me thank all you social workers, because I truly believe that we are in a position to make a difference. So I encourage you to keep fighting and it's not going to be easy. I don't want you to think that everything is peaches and cream. No, there's some battles along the way. Folks out there that are in a position, I think, to make a difference, not doing it, and many of them doing things that's detrimental. And I really think that we have to sort of call them out, talk about it, and let them know that we know that what they're doing and saying is the best interest of our nation. Social workers, don't give up. We're in a position to make a difference. Take care. Thank you very much. I want to thank Dr. Charles Lewis, and of course, who also guy who understands it and making a difference way across this nation in terms of the field of social and social work in general. Dr. Crocker Billingsley, I want to thank you for what you're doing. I think that as professionals, sometimes we think that the problems are solved between the four walls of the school. But I say to you that it's important that you step beyond the four walls, step into the community, begin to get involvement going, because you can stay behind the walls all you want. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Have a great evening. Goodbye, everybody. To see you on the stage, main stage shortly.